Welcome back, everyone, to a new episode of Cultivating Conversations with DP², the most entertaining, insightful, and enjoyable podcast in the whole DMV, the whole East Coast, whatever you want to say. And we're glad to have everybody back today. Thank you if you would watch last episode
Yes.
live or after or any episodes prior to that. But we're happy to see your faces, not literally, but today. So thank you for joining. I'm DeAndre, and I'm with my co-host.
Deja, hey y'all.
So hopefully everyone's doing good today,
Yes.
and we have a great one today. Hopefully people watch the documentary The Menendez Brothers on Netflix. That will be the central topic for today. But
Yeah.
before we get into that, how have you been, Kiwasabi?
Oh my goodness. Glad to be back.
Yes.
How have I been? I think past week was a pretty good week actually. I don't have much complaints. I think today was more of a so-so day, but
Okay.
if I had to look at like the whole past week since the last time that we seen each other or like on the pod, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, it was cool. It was
Yeah.
cool, nothing. I'm trying to keep my complaints to a minimum in 2025. I already told you that. I'm doing my best.
Yes.
I'm doing my best. So how you been though?
I've been good. I've been very good. I haven't been feeling too stressed recently, knowing
That's
that
good.
graduation is coming up.
Graduation, the countdown.
Yes, the countdown is beginning, but I'm feeling gracious, feeling grateful that, each day is just going as it goes, and school hasn't been too hard on me. So just feeling good, feeling positive, and just hoping for the best. But hi everyone in the chat that's joining in.
Yes, hey y'all. Hey
And
fam.
if you didn't necessarily watch the documentary, if you know something about the case or you know something about the Menendez brothers, please chime in once we get the discussion started.
Yes, 100%. Because it's like, okay, well, first of all, speaking of that, the reason why, so if people don't know, True Talk Tuesdays was something that we did before one time, I think, right, DeAndre? We
No,
chose
I think it was twice.
oh, twice. Okay.
I think so.
So
I think so.
it's twice. Okay. So we like choose a documentary beforehand and then we like to talk about it on the podcast because it usually has like some themes throughout it that we just feel like are relatable or not even relatable, but that will be interesting to discuss with our podcast family.
Exactly.
So this time we were like looking through me and DeAndre. Like once I sent DeAndre the Menendez Brothers documentary, we was like, okay, this one might be good. The crazy part is both of us really didn't know much about it prior to watching.
I definitely didn't.
So that was, and that might be a generational thing, I always kind of knew, but like not fully. So we were excited to dive deep into it. So even if you didn't have a chance to watch, we watched enough. We watched the whole thing. Have enough to say about it to last everybody. Don't even worry about it.
Yes. Hopefully, as you listen to us speak, you kind of grasp what's going on, or you understand what the case or what the whole situation was about.
Yeah,
because it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, and I know that some people again might already know what happened. So we really wanted to focus on like what we got from it, if that makes sense, instead of just trying to just talk about the document the whole time, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
Real quick, DeAndre, do you want to give instead of cliff notes, do you want to give a Dre notes?
Yeah, let's give a Dre notes, a little baby synopsis. So
yeah,
August 20th, 1989.
Oh, we got dates.
1989. It was a call to the 911 that I think it was Lau Menendez, which is one of the brothers. Eric and Lau's is the brother. Eric and Lau Menendez are two brothers, and they had to call it. They called the police department saying that their parents were dead in they study room. So, the police come, whatever. And of course, at the time, the trial has happened. It's come to find out that the brothers killed their parents. There's a lot of misconceptions about why, about these two rich kids living in Beverly Hills come to kill their parents on a random night. So it was a lot of assumption, and there was a lot of layers to peel back to understand really why did this happen. So that's the case in a very premature description. As we talk, you'll get to dive in a little more for sure.
Yeah, and the one thing that I think, and yeah, thank you for that. The one thing that first, I guess we should say that they end up getting sentenced to life without parole, so they have to spend life in prison. So that was what ended up happening. But the thing that I thought was a key, like that stood out to me so much was the idea of trying to navigate a toxic / abusive parent
Yes,
relationship.
essential part of the entire thing.
Yes. So like I know a lot of them talk, well, not a lot, it's just two brothers. Both of
Mm.
them talked about how much they wanted to make their parents proud, make their dad
Yes.
proud specifically.
Very odd to me that that was a focus.
Yeah, cuz again, I think a lot of kids want, like they want their parents to like
Yeah.
feel that they were successful or have like show them love and stuff, but I feel like it was a different type of more, like they were overly obsessed by
Yeah, it
that.
was obsessive. It was
Yeah, it
obsessive,
was very obsessive.
especially because their father was a very famous high executive, Jose
Mhm.
Menendez. It was a lot of pressure on the kids to succeed
Mhm.
and do
Mhm.
well. And as we dive a little bit more, we understand that they were sexually abused,
Mhm.
pressured, raped even by their father. So I think
Yeah.
that a lot of that obsessiveness comes with that toxicity. You know, it's like
Mhm.
it's a dual partnership. You don't want to let your abuser down because that's kind of who the person you only got. Sometimes, you know, they felt trapped as they explained. And I
Yeah.
wanted to bring the discussion to you is
Mhm.
this is two quotes from, I think it was Eric Menendez, that's the youngest brother. And he
Yeah.
was actually molested for 12 years. Lau was only
By
molested
his father.
by his father, yes. Lau was only molested for 2 years, 6 to 8.
Mhm.
So what I want to bring up to the people is, and you know, like we're navigating the toxic relationship idea. If anyone has thoughts, drop them in the chat.
Mhm.
Eric said, after they killed their father, this was before the trial. This is
Mhm.
after. He said, "I refuse to give up for dad's sake," meaning because he was having suicidal thoughts. He's saying refuses to give up, and he
Mhm.
said he is watching, and I will not disappoint. Why do you why do you think his mindset is like that?
I think I feel that it's a clear indication of when you've been groomed,
Hmm.
like when you start to live your life for someone else and not yourself, but because somebody made you feel like that.
Yes.
Like your life isn't valuable unless I say so. And
Yeah.
throughout the doc, you realize that was the case. Like
Hmm.
if he didn't, if they would have to like what they say was
Hang on the bars or
yeah, hang on the bar until
yeah,
to see how long you could last till you cry, like so you wouldn't cry, like stuff like
yeah,
that to just show that if I don't think you're good enough, it doesn't matter. So I think that he was just used to feeling that way. And mind you, when it happened, he was only like 18 when
yeah,
they first committed the crime. So
yes, yes.
you're 18, you kind of,
Yeah,
know,
but even
it's not
after
like
death,
that was the crazy
why
part.
don't they feel relieved? That's what I'm trying to like.
But he talked a lot about, which I thought was very interesting too. He talked a lot about how like he necessarily didn't want that to happen because he wasn't the one who committed the crime, the younger brother.
Oh yeah,
I think he was relieved at the same time he had to visually witness his parents getting
yeah,
killed. You know what I'm
that's
saying?
true.
So the psychological piece in that alone, I think, is what really like had him just
Yeah,
all over the place.
they were definitely broken. It just kind of it's like he was explaining early in the documentary how wonderful his parents were, and we're gonna get to the mom soon. Where was the mother?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he explained how wonderful his parents were, how wonderful his dad and his mother was, just
Mm-hmm.
as people, you know, as they described in the beginning. I
Mm-hmm.
just wondered if they were so wonderful, why kill them? And
Right.
I know now why, or you know what their mindset was like. But when I'm trying to debunk, because I think a lot of people go through these toxic relationships, even if it's with a partner or it's
Mm-hmm.
even with your parents or friends or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you still have that attachment to
Yeah.
something that you shouldn't, because it's just all you know. The person has manipulated you all your life, and you
Mm-hmm.
still strive for something even when they're not even on this earth anymore. And that really surprised me.
I think that, have you ever heard when people will say that no matter what,
Mm,
that's still your mom, that's still your dad? Have
mm,
you heard
yes,
people say
yes,
that a lot? So I
yes.
think that's the mentality that a lot of people have. And I don't agree with that,
Mm,
but that's what a lot of people feel. They're like, family is family. No
yeah.
matter what they might have done to you, no matter what they might have said,
Which
how
is
they made you
crazy.
feel.
Do you
So
agree?
no, I don't agree with that.
Okay, yeah.
No, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I always feel that no matter what somebody's relationship is to me in my life, both on my side and their side, it needs to be earned. Like, of course, as parents, there's respect that is naturally supposed to be given, but at the same time, the older you get, I do feel like it needs to be earned or
Yeah.
maintained based on the actions that you have towards me and vice versa.
Yeah,
So I don't agree with that. No.
I think they definitely like how you kind of like when we're pinpointing the reasoning of why they were saying, why don't you just leave? Or,
Mm-hmm.
y'all are old enough to live your own life. Why not just
Mm-hmm.
go? I think those are people that haven't experienced toxic situations.
Yeah.
They don't understand the entrapment or the feeling of somebody that is more powerful than you, more respected than you. And especially
Mm-hmm.
you have to put the time frame, this 80s and 90s.
Exactly. It's not now.
It's not now. So I think it was a lot of like a lot of guilt tripping, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of entrapment, especially if
Mm-hmm.
somebody's been molested for 12 years and, other brothers still maybe going through psychological abuse to their parents. It's not as easy as just saying, let's get up and go. So,
Yeah, because he was experiencing that up until the point that
yeah,
they killed their
literally.
parents.
That,
So
that
yeah.
was an outburst that he had and that caused the,
What do you feel about this? Because one thing I thought was cool, not cool. Whoa, it was not cool, but that I was like, okay, was that he felt that once he could go to college, he would finally be able to get away
yeah,
from his
yeah,
dad, especially and his
yes.
mom.
That was Eric, right?
Yeah, the younger one. He was finally just be like, I really want to go to a school. I want to go to Stanford so I can just
Mhm.
get away and feel like I don't have to go through this every day or
Mhm.
however long it was happening. And then when his dad told him, "Oh no, you have to go to
Yep.
UCLA," like that was the last straw. But
Yeah.
when I think about it broadly, do you feel that a lot of people have that same mindset that they just because when it would be spring break or whatever, I was excited to come back home. I'm like, okay, I get back
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
Like I like being at college, but I do miss my family and stuff.
Yeah.
How do you think it what do you feel about that? Just in more so in general, maybe
Yeah.
not specifically to them, but do you think that's okay to feel, or do you think that's a little alarming when someone's like so ready to just leave home and
Yeah. I definitely think it's very alarming when people are ready to just leave home.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people don't see, the house as a home. Those words are
Mm.
two
Mm.
separate things. And I think in Eric's case, in a lot of people's case, he
Mhm.
wanted to leave his trauma in the
Yeah.
story. And he knew that going to Stanford would help him step outside of, that
Yeah.
trauma, that abuse. And his
Mhm.
father knew what it would be easy to control him by saying, you're going to stay at UCLA, you're going to live here. And I think a lot
Yeah.
of people go through that. A lot of people have no control over their own lives. A lot of people are relying. Like, imagine growing up, you're relying on your parents for everything, literally,
Mhm.
especially if he's an executive and he has a lot of money.
Yeah.
Eric and Lau are very reliant on their father. So it's
Mhm.
like he has that entitlement of control over them. I
Mhm.
think it was just their breaking point, and a lot of people's breaking point is leaving the house. But for them, they didn't have to. We're not gonna get into that. They felt that was their only relief. They said like they
Yeah.
felt like they were going to be killed because they were
Yeah.
going to tell the public about what their father was doing to them.
Mhm.
I think
And
that breaking point is reflected in many ways in people's different lives. Like, people won't result to killing their parents, but they result to running away. They result to wanting to go to college, like you said.
yeah. Or
So
creating their own life and then their parents or family know nothing about it. Like they
exactly.
go and create a new life for themselves,
Mhm.
disassociated by like their
Yeah.
old with who they used to be. So yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
bringing up like the question about where was the mother, I think that talks a lot about perception versus reality when we
Mhm.
think about family dynamics. Like I think so many people they care more about what things look like than what they
Yeah.
actually are.
That was huge part in the doc. Huge
Yes,
part.
and a big piece of what, of course, they in the documentary they showed a lot of like family photos and cute
Like
photos
the
of the boys.
perfect image of a Beverly Hills,
Yes,
white standard family. Yeah.
yes. And what's interesting was that yes, you're right. And what's crazy is like, the mom on the outside was very sweet, very loving to her kids and stuff, wasn't as assertive and mean as the dad,
Yeah.
but she was not supportive of them.
No.
She did not stand up for them. There were multiple times where the son came to her, a family member came to her when they found out that the dad was doing that to them, and she didn't
Yeah.
do anything about it.
Exactly.
So my question to you is, why, even if there's different power dynamics when it comes to the man having more money or you feeling like intimidated, or maybe
Yeah.
she fears for her life as well, why do you feel that they they felt the need to also kill the mother too? Because if technically the mother didn't do anything,
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you feel that Eric? I mean, Lyle was just like she had to,
Yeah,
like.
that's a great question because a
Mhm,
few times in the doc they had spoken about their mother, and one time
mhm,
he said, I don't know if it was Lau or Eric, but they said even they didn't feel like their mom could live a life without their father, and I thought that was a
mm,
very profound description of a person,
mm,
that you are so heavy and relying on another person that you
mhm.
couldn't withstand to live your own life. I think that was I think that was a part of the reasoning why they felt the need to also kill their mother. And
Yeah,
even so, they also said that they said that she would be a witness and tell on them. I guess that was a big
yeah.
part of it too. But I felt like they saw they saw their mother as a shadow of their father.
Mhm.
Everything their father wanted, the mother was okay with.
Yeah.
Molestation, she was okay with. She was
Mhm.
not there to help them in times of need. So I
No.
think they just saw it as, well, they're both working together, air
Yeah.
quotes, to fuel our demises, to
Yeah.
harm us, to abuse us. So I think that was a huge part of it. What is your idea on it, on why?
No, I agree. I don't know why they might have felt like they would have had more peace with them being gone, but at the
Mhm.
same time I do think that was the mentality. It was just
Yeah.
like, because to me, even if you're not the person who actually does something, if you don't stick up, if you don't stand up against it, or you don't do the complete opposite, I feel that you're just as guilty.
No, 100%.
Just in the same where Eric didn't technically do it, but he was just as guilty as his brother. I think on the opposite, like, just because the mom didn't technically do anything to them, she's just as guilty to me. Like,
Okay.
you're just as not in the same depth,
No,
but
but because if someone is coming to you for support or coming to you to tell them, I think
mm-hmm,
that is that exactly. Moms are protectors of their children. Exactly.
mm-hmm.
No witness left behind. Definitely.
Yeah, and that's true too. Yeah, they wanted to get away with it,
Yeah,
right?
they want to get with definitely. And I think you come to your mother in solidarity, especially if your mother knows how. She said she knew the whole time
Mm-hmm,
that this was going on. So she
mm-hmm,
knows how the father is. She know what he is doing, and she is complicit exactly in the same
mm-hmm.
crimes or same molestation, just not directly, but it's still like you said, bystanders are just
Yeah.
as um should be held accountable just as the offender, you know.
Mm-hmm. I
And
agree with that.
now I wonder though, in another situation, if a person was, how do you feel if the mother was very supportive, but again,
Mm-hmm,
that father is very powerful, very strict? In that
mm-hmm.
same situation, what do you think? What do you think would be the plausible thing? Do you just run away and leave your mother, or do you know
What do
what
you
is
mean,
left
like?
behind? Like I'm asking if it was different, like the mother was supportive of them, but
Mm,
the father was still in the powerful. Because
and they still wanted to kill him, or?
yeah, I think that is, well, they still feel for themselves, but the mother really can't do nothing. I think a lot of people feel that dynamic in real life, where it's like one side maybe be there for me, but still is holding me back on this side. What do you think the plausible thing is to do? Seek a therapist?
Which was even crazy in itself because they did
Oh,
have a
yeah.
therapist, but
He was looking to come up.
yeah, it wasn't someone they could really trust, which is a whole
Yeah.
nother conversation. But I don't know. It's very tricky. I mean, that's the thing that I kept thinking about when we were watching it. I don't know if there's a real solution to that, because like, even if a parent is supportive of you, or they really want to try their best to help you or get you out of that situation, like if they fled and maybe never came back, then they might fear for their mom's safety. It's
Yeah.
just like a
Yeah.
whole, it's a lot, it's so deep, it's so many layers that I really
Yeah.
don't know. That's why I think they did what they did, because they're just like, there's just no way to do this without it being
A lot of
horrible
complications.
for somebody. Yes.
Yes, definitely. I definitely agree with that. They were definitely in a tight situation for sure. And like you bring up the top about perception versus reality, just
Mhm.
going back to the family thing, that was
Mhm.
the whole reason they were getting denounced a lot, especially in court, about their sexual abuse. And
Mhm.
that, what does a victim look like? That was
Mm.
a huge conversation. How are
Mm.
these two preppy white boys, jockey white boys,
Mhm.
been sexually abused for 12 and 2 years? How is that possible? And I
Right.
think back then, of course, it was a lot different than now, but
Mhm.
I think it was hard to be a sexual abuse victim and be male. It was hard
Yeah.
for people to understand, men to understand, because
Mhm.
as they said during the jury, the first trial, actually, because there were two, the first trial, they said all the men raised their hand for first degree murder. meaning basically they didn't believe what Eric and
Yeah.
Lau were saying. So
Yep.
that was a huge plot point too.
And then all the women,
Yes, we're
uh,
more
they wanted
lenient,
to
more
go with,
empathetic. Yes.
with them having a lighter sentence. Yeah. So it just talks a lot about how even still now people aren't believed, but especially back then there was this idea of who was more helpless, who's somebody
Yeah.
who this could happen to or whatever. And they were just like, there's literally no way that, I mean,
That,
some people believe him, but majority was just like they were
yeah, that
making
this
fun of
high
him.
exec could sexually abuse their kids. There's no way. There's
Yeah.
no way the things that they described in court could happen in real life in this situation, which is very upsetting. But I feel like that's definitely still a thing that goes on today, even if it's for men and women. Yeah,
Yeah.
this still happens. Exactly.
Do you feel, and I know you really got to think about this answer, because I think the obvious answer is to say one, but really, if you really have to think, what do you feel is more important, perception or reality?
Okay.
Like, I know the quick answer is to say you care more about how your life actually is.
No, I wasn't even gonna say that.
Okay, so what's your answer to
I
that?
think
Like,
definitely perception is definitely more important.
mm,
Um, I
like for you, or you mean like that's what people?
I'm saying worldview. I don't know if
Okay.
people agree with this necessarily, so drop your opinions. But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times it is about what you can show, not actually what's going on. I
Yes.
believe that a lot of people's reputations, and that was a big point in the documentary too. How's this going to affect Eric and Lau's reputation? How's it going to follow their family's
Yeah, because they
reputation?
didn't want to say what happened just
Yeah, they
because of the reputation. Yeah.
exactly. So the perception of them that they were a loving and caring family was still important to them, even after they killed their parents, which was
Mm-hmm.
surprising. But for
Mm-hmm.
me, in the worldview, I think that a lot of people are, fixated on the imaginary lifestyle, that
Yeah.
what is going on, on Instagram or on social media, more than what's actually
Yeah.
going on in their actual reality. And the reason I say it's more important is because I feel the less people know, the better. And that's how you can curate your own career or curate your own
Mm,
image. It's less important. Like, no one's gonna post if they really have true struggles going on. You want to show
yeah.
highlights, and that's a lot of reason what's going on now in life.
Mm-hmm. Or keep things within the family. That's a
Yep,
big thing for people.
huge. And that
We
was
can have issues, but if people can't know about it,
yes, that's a great point, because that's kind of what they were going through, and I feel like that
Yeah.
goes on a lot in our minority communities.
Yes.
It's if you let people know you look weak,
Yes.
and it's
Yes.
like the less you spend on talking about your problems, the more
Mm-hmm.
stronger that you are. And so a lot of people are victims of sexual abuse in families, and it's never spoken about. A
Yeah.
lot of people are raped, a lot of people are molested, it's never spoken about. A lot of sexual abuse cases happen within families.
Yeah. People you trust, people you felt like you could trust.
Yeah, and I want to ask you a quick question, because
Mm-hmm.
Lau again is the older one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jose Menendez was their father, right?
Yes.
Sexually abused Lau first when they were younger.
Yes.
Then Lau did it to Eric.
Yes.
Why
That
do
was
you, yeah. Why do you think that is that's a cycle that happens a lot?
yes.
And like, where you think that like it comes from? Like, wanting to feel a sense of power, maybe?
I think so. I think and this is by no means an excuse, but I know at the time when he did that, he was like 6 or 7.
Yeah, they were young. They were young. They were young.
So I think it's like he just did what he saw
Yeah.
in a weird, sick way. Like
Yeah.
his dad didn't present it to him as what he was doing was
No,
bad.
yeah. He was making it seem like that was a positive, loving thing.
Yeah, so I think him doing it to someone younger and that like power dynamic or whatever
Mhm.
was something that maybe he just felt in that moment was not even okay, but just something that like was
Maybe he did feel it was okay at the
well,
time.
exactly. So, and I know when they were on the stands, he had finally apologized to his brother for
Oh,
doing
yes.
that, but
Yes.
that was insane to me. I was
Yes.
just like, to your own sibling. I mean, and I know
Exactly.
he
I
didn't
know.
do, and it doesn't matter even if he did it once, it was still wrong. But I know he didn't do it like continuously. But at the same time, that's just like you experienced something that you didn't like, and then you do it to somebody else. And we
Yes.
talk about that
Yes.
all the time. We're
All
like,
the
why do
time.
people do things to other people that they don't like, or you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
crazy.
that was definitely it surprised me. I don't know. It was like
Oh,
when that part in the doc came up, just kind of when they were explaining their experiences, it just was like I was my mouth was on the floor. Just
I could not. My eyes was like this to the TV the whole time.
I could not understand. I was like, this is crazy.
I couldn't believe that. I could not believe it. I know that when we also talked about one thing that we felt that was huge was like the idea of family secrets, which we already touched
Yeah,
on a little bit
yeah,
already. But I think that a lot of people like the weight of guilt that people have within their family when it comes to even just things that go on in general. Like you, something may have happened to you, whether it was bad parenting or just like
uh-huh.
things you didn't like, but you still feel the weight of guilt of not even wanting to make somebody else look bad or
Yeah,
telling your true
yeah,
story or living your or telling them that didn't make you feel good because of the way you just feel like you just don't want that burden to be theirs when it
yeah.
should be, you know what I'm saying? So how do you feel that we could, and this is, I mean, we're not therapists. This is just I
Mhm.
just want to ask you, how do you feel like people can cultivate safer and more supportive environments in their own households where people don't feel like they have to be the one to hold guilt when it's not,
Yeah.
they didn't do anything, you know what
One
I
thing,
mean?
one thing I can definitely say, and this is personal experience, is about having somebody's back builds a lot of trust. Um,
Mm,
not to bring,
mm,
yeah, like not to bring it back to the doc, but him
yeah,
telling his mother, and if his mother had his back, he would feel
yeah,
it in a much safer environment,
yeah.
more comfortable environment. But a lot of times, from my experience, when I express myself, I feel heard. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
somebody is there to help me. I feel like someone is there to comfort me. And I think it's about
Yeah,
initially building that trust, especially
yeah,
if it's siblings or if it's your kids.
yeah.
You have to be able to trust one another. And it's not easy to like be a disciplined parent or a strict parent and always, say yes to your kids. So I guess
Mm-hmm.
I guess you have to balance the two.
Yeah.
But I definitely think cultivating a safer environment starts with trust because, of course, we're not just talking about explicitly Lyle and Eric, because that's a
Mm-hmm.
whole different situation.
Yeah.
I think just being heard by your family is very important and understanding that someone has your back. I
Yeah.
definitely feel like that's what helped me, be honest because personally, I don't feel like my family has any family secrets. I feel like I can express myself willingly and when I want to. And I think that, do you think family secrets is always a negative thing?
Well, what would be a family secret that what I mean?
Like I'm saying, not family secret that's like super harsh, but family secret like I don't know. I'm just saying, is there anything that you feel is okay to keep within the family?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's why certain things are just like sacred to like what you feel is just between y'all. If
What
it's
if it
not,
negatively affect you though?
well, I might still say it's the people who I feel like it affected me, but I might
Mhm.
not tell another cousin or a aunt or
Mm,
uncle, but I would want to feel the need to at least express that that did make me feel a certain type of way to
yeah.
the person that it happened with,
Is
for
that
sure.
a bad thing or is that a good thing? Like I'm saying, you feeling like you can't express yourself to other family members because, like you say, you don't want to make someone look bad.
Um,
You think that's just a part of family?
it might be DeAndre because I had that feeling.
Yeah,
Like I do. If I literally wanted to say everything that I felt was like, you know what I'm saying? Or I'm
yeah,
looking around like, why nobody else saying something?
uh huh,
I'd be
yeah,
talking all day.
yeah,
So
exactly,
I do
exactly,
think that's just a natural feeling that people just have when it comes
yeah,
to certain things. I mean, and a lot of people just want to feel like it ain't my business, but like it'll be something that I feel a way about, and then nobody else will feel a way. I'm like, it's not, it didn't happen to me, but I still feel
yeah.
like we should be saying it. But I don't, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I
So
definitely think that we're conditioned to act a
yeah,
certain way as kids. You're
yeah,
supposed to not, go behind your parents' back or talk negatively
exactly,
about them. And I think
exactly.
that's kind of where, so I felt that too many times. I think that's where
Yeah,
that implication comes from.
yeah.
I think it's just natural that
It
family
is natural.
splits. But when it gets to a point like in the documentary where now it's
Mhm,
like y'all are being forcefully pressured, being broken down mentally, physically, it's like,
mhm.
see, we don't have exact parents. But
No.
I can definitely see the weight of a child saying like, well, I don't feel comfortable speaking to someone about
Yes.
this like
Yeah.
publicly because this dude, they said they inherited $14 million when they passed away. So their dad
Mhm.
was worth a lot of money. Family's worth a lot of
That's a
money. It's,
lot back
it's
then.
like, do you ruin your entire legacy? Do you feel
Yeah.
selfish? Do you feel like we said guilty? It's a lot that weighs in on it.
Yeah, I think that's why Eric was so suicidal. I
Yeah.
think I would like to say though, I think that's why it's important, even when we think about how maybe we want to move in the world at like being older adults and stuff. I do want to present myself as an imperfect person or imperfect family, because I feel like it will make it a little easier for maybe someone to come to me and say something that they didn't like that I did, or vice versa, instead of me feeling like there's this reputation that I need to uphold, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So I
So
guess,
if you were to get status though, would you still
yeah.
feel the same way?
Um, I guess it depends on what it was, but I still would want. I might not appreciate the cousin like going on social media being like, day in the life of being Deja's cousin. She did this, she did
Yeah.
that. I might
Yeah.
not appreciate that, but I still would want the person to feel like they could. Like I wouldn't want them to be like, dang, I don't want her to feel like I'm ruining her reputation, or
Yeah,
maybe the way.
but you see now reputation is a lot. One thing can kill your career.
Yes.
I'm not even talking about celebrities. This could be
Yes.
for everyday person. Your network can literally be shut off based on
Yes.
a
100%.
negative reputation. So I think
100%.
it's
Well,
a
don't do it.
true. That's true.
If it's not, I mean, of course, when it comes to different conversation, whatever, like it might happen. But if it's a bad thing, you don't do it.
That's
Like,
true. That's
don't
true.
do it.
That's true. But I think that if you as a person were to commit a bad thing within your family, you wouldn't want your kid to say something. That I feel like a lot of people would feel that way.
Yes, you make good points. That's because that's the reality of the situation. That
Yeah,
is the
I guess it.
reality. So you're right.
Yeah,
It's
I think it gets to the point like Jose Menendez, he was saying that he would kill his sons if
mm,
they were to tell. See, now
mm,
it gets to a point where that is literally just another control mechanism,
yes.
manipulation tactic. And I think even on top of all that, we didn't even want to say nothing. Now we definitely not gonna say nothing.
It's
So
like
it's
it's
like
curtains.
their only voice was the shotgun. I feel that
Yeah.
was their only voice was the shotgun. They tried with their mother, they tried with their cousin. Nothing's working. They went to the therapist.
Tried to go away to school.
Yeah, they went to the therapist. The therapist had to sign a waiver to say they're gonna say whatever they say to the therapist. The dad gotta know about it. You have no outlet but your brother, and we both going have been through the same thing.
Yes.
And I don't want to bring this question up, but a lot of people have been looking for the acquittal of the acquittal. Is that a word?
It is. Yeah.
To be acquitted,
And it's,
from
yeah.
prison. And what do you after watching the doc? How do you feel? I know we ain't legal representatives, it's not legal advice.
Right.
But what do you think after watching?
I definitely think I definitely feel that enough time has passed where I do feel maybe that they have served their time.
Yeah.
Like they've been in there for over 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that they definitely should have gotten something at that point. I was never somebody who was like free them or they innocent by no
Yes.
means.
Yes.
But I do feel at this, like I can see people being like, you know what?
Yeah.
But they hopefully through that process they did really get some good psychological help,
Yes.
because regardless of what they did, they still didn't have good actions themselves just outside of the murder. Like they still need to
Yeah.
work through that. I don't think so. If they did all of that, I feel that they've served enough time.
Yeah, and especially like the whole, because like you said, they were suicidal as it was going on, but then they went on that shopping spree. So it's like the whole perception versus reality thing. You're really crumbling inside, but you're trying to put on this face. So hopefully, like you said, they did seek psychological help. Now, and I do agree with you as you peel the layers back and watch the doc, and there was a conversation that one attorney, the prosecution attorney, she was very hard on them the whole doc. Their name was
The one who was actually trying to get them
for the prosecution about if they were really telling the truth, and that was a huge thing. Like we said, who is the victim? I mean, like, what is a victim? Can males really be victim? Like, SNL was joking, Jay Leno was joking.
Yeah, a lot of people.
So it's like, the dad and the mother have no story to tell, but then so it's like it's a lot of layers to think about.
It is, and I would encourage people to watch it. If you didn't have a chance, definitely do it. And I would just encourage you to just watch a documentary about something that you might not normally watch. Like, just, that's I think that's my goal, cultivate for the day. Is just like, if it's a topic that you never knew about, or a person you never knew about, just check it out, because I learned so much, and I'm glad that I watched it. And it was very heavy. I would definitely say don't just watch it if you're already in a sad mood. But if you feel that you're in a good space to watch it, definitely do so.
I definitely agree with that. It was definitely a great documentary. And I also think it brought a lot of awareness to a lot of situations that's not spoken about. We know that happened, but it's not shown a lot. A lot of people are still not talking about the abuse that they had as children. You know, they just go through normal life with all these traumas. So I thought it was nice to hear us nice, you know, not nice, but it was nice to hear a story that they were able to, you know, say what happened to them, even, you know, they were going through so much at the time. And what they did, I still think was wrong, yes. But it's like, I ain't gonna say too much. I might get charged with something.
Yeah. Let's wrap it up. No, we appreciate everybody for watching our True Talk Tuesdays. If there's a documentary that we should do next, let us know.
Yes, definitely.
But we appreciate y'all for tuning in on this good Tuesday.
For sure.
And we will catch y'all next week.
See y'all next week.
Love y'all. Peace.
Peace out.